Today, we're hitting a topic that's both challenging and necessary, recognizing when it's time to cut ties, even with those closest to us. Now, before you clutch your pearls, hear me out. We all have that one person, maybe it's a friend, a family member, or even a colleague, who's become more of a stumbling block than a stepping stone. But how do you know when it's time to sever the connection? As Christians, we often struggle with this idea because we're taught to love unconditionally. But let's not forget that biblical love also involves setting boundaries. So let's explore 9 signs that it's time to walk away. Yes, even from that lifelong friend or family member. Sign 1, they lead you away from your faith. Let's start with the big one. If someone is consistently leading you away from your relationship with Christ, that's a red flag the size of Mount Sinai. The Bible is crystal clear on this. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? 2 Corinthians 6:14. It's not about being judgmental. It's about protecting your soul. If their influence causes you to compromise your values or question your faith, it's time to rethink that relationship. Remember, iron sharpens iron, not dulls it. Cue the eye roll from those who think you're being too harsh. But here's the truth. Eternity is too long to risk for the sake of avoiding an uncomfortable conversation. Sign 2, they encourage sinful behavior. We're all sinners, but there's a difference between stumbling and sprinting towards sin. If someone in your life is constantly encouraging you to engage in behaviors that go against biblical teaching, whether it's gossip, dishonesty, or more grievous sins, you need to consider the impact they're having on your spiritual walk. Proverbs 13:20 warns us, "Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm." The company you keep will either build you up or tear you down. And let's be real, your conscience is already screaming at you every time you go along with their plans. Maybe it's time to listen to that still, small voice instead of their loud, destructive one. Sign 3, they drain your emotional and spiritual energy. Here's one that might hit close to home. Ever feel like every interaction with this person leaves you emotionally exhausted and spiritually drained? You're not alone. There are people who are like emotional leeches. They suck the life out of you while giving nothing in return. Jesus said, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Matthew 11:28. If someone consistently adds to your burden instead of helping to lighten it, they're not acting in love. And yes, this applies even if they're family. Remember, Jesus didn't chase after those who walked away from him. He focused on those who were willing to follow. So why are you holding on to someone who's clearly not interested in your well-being? Sign 4, they disrespect your boundaries. Everyone loves to talk about them, but not everyone respects them. If you've set clear, reasonable boundaries and someone continually disregards them, that's a major sign you need to reconsider their place in your life. Galatians 6:5 reminds us that each one should carry their own load, meaning it's okay to say no and not feel guilty about it. When people trample on your boundaries, they're essentially saying that their desires are more important than your well-being. This isn't love, it's selfishness. And no, setting boundaries isn't unchristian. It's actually quite biblical. Even Jesus took time away from the crowds to rest and pray. So, why should you feel bad about needing space? Sign 5, they are constantly negative and cynical. We all have off days, but if someone's default mode is negativity and cynicism, it's only a matter of time before their toxic attitude rubs off on you. Philippians 4:8 tells us to focus on whatever is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, and admirable. Negativity is like a virus. It spreads, and before you know it, you're complaining about everything under the sun. If someone is constantly tearing others down or finding fault in every situation, it's time to reevaluate how much access they have to your life. Yes, even if that someone is your closest friend or a sibling, you deserve to be around people who uplift you, not those who drag you into the muck of their misery. Sign 6, they manipulate you through guilt or fear. Guilt and fear are the oldest tricks in the book, literally since the serpent used them in the Garden of Eden. If someone is manipulating you by playing on your guilt or fear, They're not respecting you as an individual made in God's image. The Bible says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear." 1 John 4:18. Manipulative behavior is not only toxic, it's a form of control. And let's be clear, the only one who should have control over your life is God. It's time to cut the strings on those who think they can puppet you into doing their bidding. Trust me, the freedom you'll feel is worth it. Sign 7. They have no respect for your time or commitments. Ever notice how some people think your time belongs to them? They expect you to drop everything for them, yet they're nowhere to be found when you need something. This kind of one-sided relationship isn't just annoying, it's disrespectful. Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us that there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Your time is a gift from God, and it should be treated as such. If someone is constantly disrespecting your time or commitments, it's a sign they don't value you. And let's be honest, if they don't respect your time, what else are they willing to disrespect? Sign 8. They are envious or competitive toward you. Here's a tough one. If someone is constantly envious of your successes or seems to view life as a competition, it's a sign of deeper issues. James 3:16 says, "For where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice." Envy and competition can destroy even the closest of relationships. Instead of celebrating your victories, they belittle them, or worse, try to outdo you. True friends and loving family members rejoice with you. They don't try to one-up you. So, if they're not cheering for you, why are they even in your life stadium? Sign 9. They refuse to change, despite knowing they hurt you. This is the final but perhaps most crucial sign. If someone knows they've hurt you and yet refuses to change, it's time to seriously consider cutting ties. Forgiveness is a biblical mandate, but forgiveness doesn't mean putting up with repeated abuse. In Matthew 18:15, 17, Jesus lays out a process for dealing with those who sin against you, and if they refuse to listen, you are to treat them as a Gentile or a tax collector. In other words, distance yourself. If someone isn't willing to change destructive behaviors, they're not interested in a healthy relationship. At the end of the day, love isn't just about feelings, it's about actions. And sometimes the most loving action you can take is to walk away. It's never easy to make these decisions, but remember, your primary relationship is with God, and anything or anyone that hinders that relationship isn't worth holding on to. We are called to love, but love also involves wisdom and discernment. Don't let misplaced loyalty or guilt keep you in a relationship that's doing more harm than good. As you navigate these decisions, keep in mind that God's desire for you is to live a life of peace, joy, and righteousness. Surround yourself with people who encourage you in your walk with Christ, who lift you up rather than tear you down, and who respect the boundaries you've set. Your spiritual health is worth the tough decisions, and your future self will thank you for making them. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button and share it with someone who might need to hear this today. And don't forget to subscribe for more content that dives deep into biblical wisdom and life tips. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had to end a relationship, even with a family member or close friend? How did you handle it? Drop a comment below and let's get the conversation started. Remember, walking in faith sometimes means walking away, but that's okay because God is leading the way. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more biblical insights to help you live a life of purpose and peace.